Also, please take note inside the textbook, the grade textbook. I also put in your classwork there if you wanted to follow along or have it next to you open somewhere. 162 through 175. It will contain that information from the actual textbook that is for classwork. Today's session, as I've stated, it is display devices. So our main objective is to be able to describe different types of displays and their characteristics. The purposes of projectors, describe the different settings of a monitor and how to actually adapt them, identify video ports, connectors, identify common problems that can come up with monitors. Anyone know what a projector is?
Yeah.
It's familiar what it looks like, I hope.
Yeah.
Cool. So what is the purpose for a monitor or even a projector itself? They're all type of monitor, right? A display. The main purpose of this. You want to give us a clue? Anyone want to share out their beliefs if they don't want to type it in there yet? What do they believe monitor is for? There's many different types of monitors that we're aware of, right? We just mentioned projector, we mentioned regular monitor, but the monitors themselves come in different shapes, forms. We have the CRTs, we have the liquid crystals or the LCDs. You have the LEDs, the light emitting diode ones, the fluorescent versus LED is a slight difference in them. Plasma displays, the new OLEDs, those are my favorite. We decided to go and torture small plant animals or plants. Surprise the, whatever you want to call it, FIPA, PETA, people haven't jumped on this. But we're basically electrocuting them just to be able to create colors on our displays. So these new OLEDs are so thin, since it's an organic LED, it fits almost anywhere. And at the same time, we get to torture, obviously, plants. I always find that very interesting how nobody said anything. I'm going to start making my own, instead of PETA, well, PETA, but I'm going to go for plants. That's what I'm going for. I'm defending the plants. You know who's going? I'm going to get the bear. What's the bear's name? Anybody remember who the bear is? Smokey the Bear. Yeah, that guy. He'll help me out. I feel better now. Display devices, definition and types. Lázaro, can you help us out with this one?
Yes. The monitor or display is the primary output device for most computing devices. It shows what is going on with programs and operating systems. The view card or display adapters handle all the communication between the CPU and the monitor. Different types of displays, different types of technologies. The most common are CRT, LCD, LED, plasma, OLED, projectors.
Thank you. So those are different flavors that are out there. Obviously, some of them are already pretty old and not being used. You have your CRT, which is your cathode ray tube. These are very, very dangerous. A lot of individuals got electrocuted with this because just like any other component, this one has a humongous amount of charge, electricity stored inside the actual tube. Therefore, when you unplug it, it's strongly recommended you shouldn't touch it until you, again, push the power button in the front and hold it for a while. And even then, I've seen people when they try to disconnect it, do get basically thrown across the room. So usually IT professionals are not touching these anymore. Those are obviously very old and antiquated devices. It's not something that's being used that I'm aware of. Those are the old tube monitors. Any questions or doubts? I have the screen in the front with a tube, has the yoke, and then over here is where the electron gun is that throws the actual electrons into the unit. Next unit, LCD. Daniel, can you help us out here?
He just stepped away for a second.
Okay, Jordan.
Liquid crystal display monitors, or LCDs. The monitor is composed of a large number of tiny liquid crystal molecules called subpixels, arranged in rows and columns between polarized filters. Each group of 3 RGB subpixels forms a physical pixel. Current LCD monitors use thin film transistor, or TFT, to control each color dot, providing fast picture display, crisp definition, and tight color control. TFT displays use twisted pneumatic, or TN, preferred by gamers because of their fast response time. They are brighter and consume less power. Or in-plane switching, or IPS, true color images with better viewing angles. They are expensive and have slower response time.
Thank you. Everyone aware of what RGB means?
Red, blue, wait, RG?
Red, green, blue.
Yeah, RGB.
Primary colors.
And for computers, yeah, but I don't think they taught us that red, green, and blue were primary colors to make colors when we went into art class. But for computers, that's one thing we need to learn. Red, green, blue is the way it can create all the colors. Depending on the settings from 0 to 255, it makes the mixtures between the reds, greens, and blues to create all the colors in the rainbow. All zeros, if I'm correct, this is also stuff that you need to know for programming. All zeros is white, if I remember correctly, and all 255s on everything becomes black. And then obviously, depending on the actual mixture of colors of the red, greens, and blues, they'll make your yellows, greens, and any other. Well, obviously, if I turn off all reds and blues, I'm left only with green.
That's usually the same thing for LEDs, right?
It's all red, green, and blue. If you look at your monitor and settings, they usually have just those 3 different rows of colors and everything. Those are the ones that they use to turn off and on. Remember, the computer's got to talk to zeros and ones to all these individuals that are attached to him. So he's got to give the monitor all the zeros and ones that correspond every little part here on my monitor. As you can see my screens, these are all zeros and ones really in the background. To create the gray, to create the blue, the shade of blue, all of that is amazing that it's all just turning off and on those little sections of the screen to be able to create that image for your eye. Every single one has its order. Pretty hectic, huh? Thank God you don't got to do it. Any questions so far? In the new ones, which have the thin film transistor to control the actual colors on the dots.
The last one.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it says, what does that mean? Yes,
the IPS. The IPS is the newer ones where now, if in the old models, if you remember on the LCDs, if you kind of went to the side, you couldn't see what you were looking at. So this one, the in-plane switching, is a new technology that they created instead of the twisted pneumatic, which was the old ones, but the TFTs, which is the old ones, and obviously it just creates better imaging. It's newer technology and it has better viewing angles, more wider. You can be more towards the side and still see what's on the screen. without having to be truly right in front of the monitor. The bad thing there, you'll notice, is it's much more expensive and it has slower response time. So refresh rate is much slower. That no gamer would be wanting one of those. Even though the colors are good, if you notice, they'll buy maybe the twisted pneumatic, which obviously has faster response time so they can see where they're going faster and detailed of everything. You don't want to get that skippy when you're trying to save the world, people shooting at you. You want to make sure you don't, lose track of the bullets coming. People pay for anything. As long as the technology works, as you can see, you have different flavors depending on your need. Thanks for the question. Any other questions here before we proceed to LCD? Now the LCD panels, they have three main components. You have your backlight, which obviously is the one that helps illuminate. You guys have probably seen these a lot in the LCDs, that if the backlight doesn't want to work, you could kind of see the screen, but it's like opaque, I guess is the word, or soft, like if you dimmed it for some weird reason. And that's because of due to maybe with the backlight, or if you're using a laptop, if you disconnect it, sometimes you have power saving. So that's basically the guy that's illuminating that area there. Most of them obviously use the CCFL, cold cathode fluorescent lamp. So it's a fluorescent lamp in the back. Technology, due to its low power use, even bright and long life, much better than the old ones. Inverters tend to send power to the backlights. Now, this is the most important one. As we learned prior to this, everything that comes into the computer or any of these devices, we have been told that it converts from AC to DC. For an LCD panel, it goes from AC coming in to DC in there for some of the components, back to AC for a part of the actual backlights. This is, that I'm aware of, the only one that does this. So if they're going to ask you some weird question of who, what, where converts back to AC, that's your LCD. That's one key major difference. Obviously, we have other components in there. We have the transformer. We have the actual circuitry board and your analog digital converters for your VGA to DVIs, depending which one you're coming in. But the most important thing here is that it actually, inside of it, it's using both DC and AC, depending on what component's getting the electricity. Any questions? LED, your light emitting diode monitors. Mohammed, if you can help us here with the first few there sentences.
LED monitors. Monitors use light emitting diode, a light for backlighting. Using LED reduces the thickness of the panels and reduces the overall electricity usage while providing a better range and accuracy of color. It receives DC power directly from the power adapter. LED technology also uses less mercury and is therefore kinder to the environment when an LCD monitor is disposed of.
Thank you. So yeah, so the LED basically is a light emitting diode. You guys have probably seen LEDs everywhere. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen them. Even your computer has a little LED in the front with a little red light. So believe it or not, they're using that technology to create the various dots inside your monitor again. This is now using DC power. You see how now they're even saying again it's DC. It's not using AC in there at all. Completely DC, and it comes directly from the power adapter that usually goes into the these units. Any questions on this slide? All right, so fluorescent versus LED. So your size obviously on your fluorescent is thicker than your LEDs. It's much more cheaper. Older technology usually is cheaper. The brightness is lower on the LCD. The lifespan is very short compared to the LED. This one has a much shorter span, and it has much more higher consumption, which we expect. And also the heat generation, because of its old technology, it doesn't have any of the new features of power consumption and or lifespan that this one does. Based on that, obviously, like anything, if we buy the cheap version of anything, it's going to be creating us problems compared to the more expensive one here in obviously better, higher brightness. It's got much thinner and better technology. What's the difference for you guys then between LCD and LED for you guys? What's the main difference? Anybody want to shout out on that one? What's the main difference on an LCD versus LED? What was the main difference we said about an LCD versus LED? The main difference. We understand colors, bright, everything. But what was one of the main things that we saw in there that was a shout out that I kind of made a big deal about? We know obviously the newer technology has more better bright displays, everything that they said there. But what would be the main difference component in there that's different? There's something different in there.
It doesn't have an inverter.
Yeah. One of them has an inverter, and that would be the LCD. The fluorescent tubes obviously have much more, which are the ones, the tube ones. Those have much more mercury than all of these other ones. But that I'm aware of, I've yet purposely anybody make a brand new tube TV. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen, or a tube monitor. Those are, you would have to probably buy refurbished and or somewhere weird.
What do you want one?
I'm sorry?
So why would you want one?
There's a question? You guys are breaking up. Oh, okay.
You said, why would you want one then?
They just want you to know what they are in case if you run into them, because obviously some of these old computers who have sunset system which haven't been upgraded, so the system, that operating system's gone, but they got a program that still runs on that operating system. So it's an old computer with an old monitor, and they just haven't replaced it. Especially if it's VGA, the new monitors won't have VGA; they're SVGA. So you would have to have one of these old monitors to connect to those computers. The only reason I can see maybe you may have that if you still haven't migrated that system or sunsetted out.
So an adapter wouldn't work?
Would I really want to buy? Why would I want to? Why would I see? That's what I'm saying. Why would I want to buy an adapter? This is something that has gone. Companies are not going to buy on something old that's supposed to be getting migrated. You won't get approvals on these things. Now, if it's Pepe's little rinky-dink shop, then yeah, maybe you can get yourself a little converter from SVGA to VGA. But
The reason why I mention it, because I know there's still a lot of like places that use Unix,
mm-hmm.
and They are stuck in the 1980s.
Yes, but the Linux you can use Linux on the newer versions of Linux have that I'm aware of SVGA displays unless if you haven't upgraded your Linux. Because Linux has upgrades much more that I'm aware of than even Windows itself, of how much it patches itself. There's 100 different flavors too of Linux, so I'm not sure which one you're talking about. There's Red Hat, Kali.
I just know that sometimes they have like special equipment, like a lot of research places
Oh
where
yeah,
they
AS400 ones, the ones that have AS400s that only have the old terminals, those are going to be tubed, right? Those real old AS400 ones that have those old terminals with the coaxial, that have a tube. You guys know what a terminal is?
Yeah, and I know that the government still uses some of the old tech because I know some of the nuclear silos still use those really old equipment,
Yeah,
and
I haven't upgraded those
apparently
systems.
you can't switch it.
Yeah, they're completely, usually those are siloed systems where there's no way you can get in. They don't go really out to the internet. There's no way you can get hopefully any type of threats. But obviously, if somebody inside wants to do something, they can.
I just find it surprising they have an upgrade, but that's why I'm asking that question because it's kind of interesting. A lot of companies don't really upgrade.
There's a lot of companies that take very long to actually migrate and are resistant to change because of the amount of cost it entails to be able to write the code for the new operating system. A lot of these things is not just recompile it in there. You gotta actually redo everything. Well, not everything, but you gotta make sure it's, if it was a 86 or a 32-bit operating system and you're going to 64, you gotta create the one that's 64. Yeah, so a lot of people, I know several companies that I worked for who were stuck. They were stuck for years. Almost took them. One of the projects that I work on took over 10 years to get rid of an AS400 system. And when they finished, they still didn't have everything that the AS400 had. They created, I think it was 4 or 5 systems, and still those 4 to 5 systems didn't do everything that AS400 was doing. It was doing accounting, it was doing shipping, tracking, palletizing, you name it. It was running the business. There wasn't one, not even marketing could get their information from this system. Everybody in the actual company had full access. And that was Challenge Air Cargo. They had full access to everything. Obviously, the system it did. Not every user did, but this system had encompassed the whole company. So it's hard to change. Good questions. Plasma monitors. Carlos. Actually, that just rang our bell. It's 10:15, guys. Let's take a 15-minute break here. Let's pause.
Sorry, I was getting coffee. Let me go to Nearpod. We're on plasma monitors, right?
Yes, slide 12, correct.
Okay. Plasma displays use small cells containing ionized gases. Wait, is there a video just coming out right now?
Nope.
No? Oh, it's probably from my laptop. I'm sorry. Plasma displays use small cells containing ionized gases similar to what is used in fluorescent lamps. It advantages high quality pictures, wider viewing angles, and less motion blur. Disadvantages: screen burn in, heavier and higher energy requirements. Use cases: they have mainly been used for TV displays but can be used simply as display monitors that accept output from a variety of devices, including PCs, no longer being made for consumers.
Yep. So those are the old plasma displays. Those are obviously pretty much antiquated also, although they have obviously higher quality, wider viewing angles, and less motion blur, but they're not being made anymore for regular consumers. I believe some of us already alluded to, obviously there is the government and or some other people that have these refurbished ones. But as for the average Joes out there, these type of monitors are no longer being used or supported. Any questions on the plasma?
No, sir.
Now, yeah. Sorry?
No, sir. No, sir.
Oh, cool. All right, so OLEDs. Pablo, if you can help us out here with OLEDs.
All right, so we got OLEDs, organic light emitting diode monitors. We got the OLED technology uses a layer of organic compound with emissive electroluminescent qualities to emit light in response to an electric current. This organic layer resides between two electrodes, an anode and a cathode. Although it uses no backlight, it results in a higher contrast ratio than an LCD in low light conditions. This technology is currently expensive and the materials used have a limited lifespan.
They're not kidding about limited lifespan. Apparently, these things tend to die when you electrocute them for too long, although they look beautiful with all the colors. But since it is an organic light emitting diode, the lifespan is pretty short compared to, obviously, other ones that are out there. Any questions? Doubts? Peter lovers of the world, unite.
Oh, we can't see your screen.
Okay, let's go to slide 14. For 14, let's have Justin, if you can help us out here with this slide. Thank you, Christina, for
display of computer images to an audience in two possible ways: rear view or front view, most common. Brightness of the projector is measured in lumens, amount of light given off by a light source from a certain angle that is perceived by the human eye. The greater the lumen, the brighter the projector. A projector throw is the size of the image at a certain distance from the screen. All projectors have a recommended minimum and maximum throw. The lamps generates the light inside the projector. They generate quite a bit of heat, so all projectors come with a fan to keep the lamp from overheating.
Thank you. Yeah. Has anybody ever or understand what they mean by rear and front view?
Understand front view, but not rear view.
Okay.
I've never seen a rear view projector.
You might have seen some of them, but just never noticed. Basically, it's the same exact thing, but the other way around. So the actual screen is transparent enough that when the projector hits it with the image, it comes through. Lack of a better way of explaining. So it's
Like the movies? Like how movie theaters display it through.
the movie theater, the projector's all the way in the back of the room, so that's really front. So these things can do from the front or from behind the screen. It'll project it onto the screen itself. And since that's a special screen that's transparent enough that you can actually see it the right way. So it's got to project it actually in mirror when it's going into the back of this thing, so that when you look on the front, it looks like normal. Usually you see these in the high-end home theaters where the actual projector is hidden inside the cabinets. Those are the ones in the high-end mansions where you see a lot of these type of projectors being used in that type of scenario. You don't see the rear view one being used so much, obviously due to the cost and setup. The other one that it has is the capability of you mounting it to the ceiling. So now it's actually got to project upside down. The throw is basically that. If depending on the quality of the picture that you want and the size, there is a minimum and maximum that you can actually be away from the screen without it actually looking too distorted or without hurting the actual image. If it's too close, you won't be able to focus. The same thing, if it's too far, you won't be able to focus once again. Any questions or doubts? Thank you. Continue here to the next slide. So let's see who we got here. Thank you, Justin. DeAndre, can help us out with this slide, please.
No problem. Monitor settings. Brightness is determined by the monitor's backlights. It is measured in nits. Displays vary from 100 nits on the low end to over 1,000 nits or more on the high end. Response rate is the amount of time it takes for all the subpixels on the panel go from pure black to pure white and black again. It's measured in milliseconds, with lower being better. Refresh rate refers to how often a screen can change or update completely. For most computing issues, 60 Hertz is fine. Contrast ratio is the difference between the darkest and lightest spots that the monitor can display. A good contrast ratio is 450 to 1.
Thank you, DeAndre. So, I'm pretty sure we all have seen these words before. Brightness, plain as simple, is how bright can this image be on the monitor or projector? How bright can it be? Your response rate, this one in refresh rate, a lot of people tend to get them confused. The main thing here in response rate versus refresh rate, if you can think about it, is how long does it take, if you'll notice when I'm moving this mouse, for it to be able to update. In other words, to be able to continuously refresh the screen with the information that is there. Versus response time is actually in reference from being able to get from white to black and back. The response rate. So you can think about the amount of time it takes for it to get to the picture versus the other one is how fast can it continuously refresh what's on your screen. A lot of people probably seen the refresh rate when you put your camera and you start recording on these old monitors. I'm not sure if the new ones still do that you can see it. You'll see the line going down. That's one of the reasons a lot of people get headaches and problems with the computers, is because invisible, or to your brain per se, not to your eye, you're not noticing it, but you're getting pounded with these lights. So your brain in the back has got to be able to continuously receive it. So it's seeing the line, believe it or not. It's not projecting it to you so that you're seeing it, but it's still getting pounded with that information. It's cutting out the white noise. Similar to, I think people can, if you cover one eye, you can still see, and it looks like you're kind of seeing through your hand. You're not really seeing through your hand. Your brain is the one that's adjusting to the image to be able to give you a better view of what you're looking for. That's the only thing I can tell you about response rate, is how fast can I respond to you telling me to do something, versus refresh rate is that continuously cycling the image in there. Any questions?
I have a quick question. Is there a reason why it should keep refreshing?
The reason why, memory.
Memory. Because I thought it will save more space to just change the pixels as needed. Is it to prevent burn-ins or artifacting?
Burn-in and artifacting on the old ones, and then refresh rate was still there. So you got to remember, memory is gone instantaneously. Unless if you have the buffering memory, and even then, that's just buffering what's coming in and out. So what's the processing part of the computer is always processing information coming in and out. So if you want to keep the image there, you need to continuously refresh the information that's on the screen. I don't know. I guess that's the only way I can try to explain it.
Actually, yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay, yeah, because there's no way for it to store. That
Exactly.
makes better sense.
There's no, it's memory is always being refreshed. We got to remember that. It's not like a hard drive where it's keeping stuff. It's as short term as your friend in your neighborhood. That's as short term as memory as you can get. That guy is basically dead in the water. There's no way. It's like the joke I was saying of Spaceballs. You just missed it. When? Just now. How? Where are we? When would then be now? Soon. Basically that. It's gone. As soon as it comes in, it's out. There's no reason the CPU or the RAM is going to be holding long-term any information. So if I stop refreshing or giving the information to the actual monitor, you're not going to have anything. Matt, that make hopefully better sense? Because then I will only refresh when you change the screen, right?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for the question. All right. Next one here. Wait, look who came up. Lázaro. If you can help us with this screen, please.
Yes, sir. Monitor settings 2-5. Aspect ratio is a ratio between horizontal and vertical pixels. Most common aspect ratios are 4:3, 16:9, or 16:10. Common resolutions for 4:3 ratios are 640 times 480, 800 times 600, 1024 times 768. Common resolutions for 16:9 ratios are 1366 times 768, 1600 times 900, and 1920 times 1080. Native resolution. All LCD monitors have a native resolution that enables them to display the sharpest picture possible. LCDs can't run at resolution higher than the native one. Most LCD monitors can inform the PC of their native resolution.
Thank you. So, I'm pretty sure many of you have tried and change your monitor settings, try to make it either better or smaller, depending on what your preference is. As they stated here, the majority of the monitors, if you have the correct drivers, when you go in there, it'll tell you what's recommended. It'll say, here's the recommended resolution, because that's what the manufacturer is expecting you to be using, and that's what they actually created that screen for. The size and everything is best performance will be there. It doesn't mean that you're stuck with it. You want your best performance out of this monitor, that's what we recommend. As for the newer ones, as we can see, the newer ones are the 16:9 versus the 4:3 ratio. They have the higher resolution compared to the old ones. Anybody remember what's the usual old monitors, your VGA monitors? What was the usual, the 4:3 ratio that they would use compared to now? What's the common ones that a lot of them have?
I just know there's so many connectors.
600 by 800, I believe.
Yeah, 800 by 600. That is correct. 800 by 600 is the old ones. So if you get something that doesn't want to work real good and you want just VGA, as simple as possible colors and ratio, you will go to your 800 by 600. And
that's the 15 pin, right?
Well, yes, VGA, I think was 9. It was DB9. SVGA is 15.
Oh, super, right?
Super VGA
Super is 15.
Yeah. VGA is the old.
Okay.
I refuse to get rid of the word S, even though the old VGAs are gone, because I want to make sure everybody understands I'm saying SVGA. I'm pretty sure VGA, the old ones, not many of them out there, but there is a difference in the amount of colors VGA gives me compared to SVGA.
Got it. So the original VGA is 9 pins. And then
That I'm aware of,
the-
yes. It was DB9, DB9 female, the old
Okay.
VGA monitors. And the DB15s was when the SVGAs came out. If I recall correctly. That's back in 80s and 90s, so quite a few years away. Any other questions or doubts here? Kidding aside, in reference to the aspect ratio or native resolution? Okay, my favorite subject here. This is when I used to have my PC. I used to love it. I used to have the 3 screens to be able to go and fly because I love flight simulators. And or if you're in these war zones, being able to have that wide capability of seeing them come from the sides was also very entertaining. Most PCs nowadays allow the use of multiple monitors, and if their display card is obviously available for it, and if your computer is capable of it, because most of them are, obviously, but some of these video cards won't allow you to split. So obviously the old ones that I'm aware of, the majority of the new ones, now you are able to even buy this little doohickey here where you will connect to your computer and then all of your other devices and or monitors get connected to it to be able to split it. There's various different ways that you can do it. Now, in my computer here, I have a screen down here, and you can see it's not that I'm going senile or anything. You continue seeing me looking up is because I have my TV where I split the actual information, and that's the TV that I'm looking up where the Nearpod is. Versus down here, I can see Pablo's at the beach. I see Alexa shuffling papers. Carlos is staring at me like if he's about to shoot me. I mean, I can see various information with these 2 screens at the same time. I can now drag slowly up so you can see that I'm not lying, and I'm putting it right back down here. Where's my other screen? Questions in reference to multiple display settings and or the features that it brings. What's amazing about this is the video walls now that you've seen a lot of locations in the airports where they'll make a complete picture out of a 3x3 or 4x3, depending on what aspect ratio that they want to do with all of them. You can all control this with the operating system itself. Next, Daniel, can you help us out here with privacy filters?
Privacy filter fits over the front of the display to make it difficult, if not impossible, to read the monitor unless you are squarely in front of it. It helps to reduce eavesdropping or shoulder surfing, used in situations where high security information will be displayed on the desktop. Anti-glare filters fit over the front of a display screen to reduce the glare on a screen, and is useful when the workstation is facing sunlight.
Thank you. Any questions on either privacy filter or anti-glare filters? It's pretty self-explanatory. Questions, doubts? Okay. Alexa, monitoring settings, your resolutions.
Monitor resolution is the number of horizontal and vertical pixels that are displayed. Most monitors allow for 2 or more resolutions and can pick the one to use in desktop. Settings of the operating system. VGA is a 320 times 200 resolution and 250 colors that uses analog technology. CVGA, Super VGA, is a 800 times 600 resolution. XGA, Extended Graphics Array, is a 1024 times 768 resolution that offers 6 function hardware acceleration for 2D tasks. SXGA, Super Extended Graphics Array, is a 1280 times 1024 resolution commonly used on a 14 or 15-inch laptop and LSD desktop monitors. HDTV 720p is the lower resolution used for HDTV 1280 times 720. UXGA Ultra Extended Graphics Array is a 1600 times 1200 resolution. HDTV 1080p is the full HD TV resolution, 1920 times 1080. WUXGA widescreen ultra extended graphics rate is the resolution of 1920 times 1200 used for widescreen monitors. UHD 4K is ultra high definition with a resolution of 3840 times 2160.
Thank you. So, Christina, can you guys tell me, or Christina, can you tell me what these numbers correlate to you? What exactly does 800 by 600 tell me in reference to this?
The resolution?
Correct, but in what in details is it telling me about my resolution?
The native resolution?
How many pixels on it?
That's correct. How many pixels? So the first number that helps us, believe it or not, that means that there is 800 pixels in its horizon and 600 maximum coming down. That's the 800 by 600. If we notice then on the last one here on the Ultra 4K, it's got 3,840 coming across, 2,160 coming down. That's a lot of pixels, a lot of high detail, and that's how it's able to create it, is due to the amount of dots that are going across. That's that red, green, blue that we were talking about earlier. So for every area, or in other words, there's 3,840 red, green, blues coming straight across by 2160 coming straight down. If it is ultra high HD, sorry. One thing to help us remember all these things, VGA was the first guy. Then he became a super guy. Then he became an X guy. So he went VGA, super VGA, and then you got the extended. Your extended GA has the same thing, the super XGA. And on top of that guy, he's got the UXGA, sorry, ultra. So he went super and then he went ultra. Last feature of the extended GA was the wide ultra XGA. So there's the XGA, SXGA, the UXGA, and the WUXGA. Those are all extended graphics array. The one that I love, and it's easier to know what in the world's going on, is HDTV. Gives you the information very quickly. You got 720p. Well, guess what? That's the furthest he's going to go on the back end, 720. And if you remember what's the combo between 720, usually it's 1280. Same here with the HD 1080p. Again, 1080 on the rear end right over here. That's the up and down on your vertical versus the horizontal is 1920. Any questions or doubts on how to read this and or what the information they're giving us here? It's all determined by the operating system too, because some operating systems, they must have the right drivers for these monitors to work that way. So here's a chart for our various different video modes and the resolutions and aspect ratios. Any questions or doubts? Anybody notice replace the SVGA? What's the thing that we really have that's not, that we might have thought we had in our computer, but we really have is something else? We don't seem to have SVGA, right? What seems to be what we have?
HDMI and DisplayPort.
Yeah, but on the screen itself of the laptops, the laptop screens, they're WXGAs or WSXGAs. These are the laptops that are out there. So your screen on your laptop, if you're having that laptop, may have this. Many of the desktops now have SXGA. That's the usual ones that are out there.
I thought the most common would be the 1920 P 1080, the 69, the HD TV.
You got full HD on your laptop?
Yeah.
Yeah. My laptop's not that new.
I mean, it makes sense. Every year, everything's like different. Like I have an old monitor here, and it doesn't have the original LED, so it's not that efficient. And that's just like 5 years ago.
Yeah. These are just basically all the different variants ones. Like you said, there's obviously many monitors out there, different types and or flavors. So depending on what you want and what you're willing to pay. Any other questions? Thank you for the question. Yeah. Alex? What's the difference between refresh rate and response rate on a computer?
The response rate is going to be how fast it reacts, as opposed to the refresh. It's going to be how fast it actually loads. Oh, never mind.
We got very close to it. Yeah. So response is how fast it can turn on and off the light, in other words, more or less. And refresh is how fast can it continuously refresh your screen. That's going to help you. The refresh would be for the gamers, for instance. How fast can you refresh my screen that I can get my information so I can see my guy coming in and that the bullets flying across the screen so it doesn't feel like so jumpy. You know what I'm talking about? Like frames per second and stuff like that, where when you get in so that's going to affect your frames per second, if in lack of a better comparison of a game, because I know a lot of people know what frames per seconds are out there. But that's due to how much you can download and see, right? But this is similar. The refresh rate, you could think about it, something like that. It's how fast can it refresh your screen with the colors that are there. Any other questions, doubts on that? Cool. Right. Continue on. Our list of ports and connectors. We have many. We got the VGA connectors. I refuse to call it SVGA like I do. DVI, HDMI, display ports, Thunderbolt, composite, component, S-video, coaxial for TVs, as we know, adapters and converters. Plenty of adapters and converters out there, as I believe Lasso alluded to in the beginning. So you got your VGA. It's a DB15 or HD15, depending where and when and how, but it's still the same exact connector, depending who you ask. Transmit the 3 signals of red, green, and blue. Analog video. It's not digital. We'll notice here that DB15 has, this DB15 specifically has 3 rows of 5 versus the other DB15 has 2 rows, 8 and 7. DVI, that's your digital visual interface ports. Now, these things are both, can be analog or digital, and it can be both. How can I tell? That's how they gave it to us. DVI-I is integrated. It has both the analog and digital signals. In other words, for the higher end versus the lower end amount of colors. The DVI-D is for your digital, and your DVI-A is for your analog. On top of that, you have your single link and your dual link versus on the analog and in integrated. Each one has its own single link, dual link, that's digital. Here's the integrated one here, which is single link, and that's the dual.
Why there's so many?
Depending on the person, if they want crisper colors and better, each manufacturer created different types of monitors, and obviously the more colors, the more you need. If you'll notice here, here's a DVI. So DVI, this is one quick way I like to tell students how to figure this out. When you're looking at it, which was annoying when these first things came out, they were all white. And you could see our faces when we figured out that we had the wrong cable and we're trying to connect this into some of these things. It was frustrating. But how can I tell? All DVI-Ds have this straight line. See it here? Now the single link has the hole in the middle, and the dual link has the whole grid filled. The analog has the 4 little squares with the line in the middle, and he's got a lot missing. You'll notice on the right and on the bottom over here, it looks like almost PO. So I always tell them, or I used to say HPO. HPO. That's your analog. You see the HPO or no? Anybody see my imagination of an H?
Yes.
A P? Oh, okay. So that's your analog. And you see your HPO. Now, when you see this guy that looks almost exactly like your digital, that's your single integrated. So he's got that line with the 2 boxes, but now he's got 4 boxes around. That's the analog portion right there. Single link. Then this guy, he's got everything. He's got the 4 boxes and the whole grid's filled. Versus this guy, he's got the whole grid filled with the line only. It's the easiest way, unfortunately, I can tell you to try to memorize that and tell the difference. All I's have an H here. Any questions or doubts? Obviously, the analog has less colors than the digital, and the dual link has better than the single link. HDMI. Teresa, can you help us with this one? Teresa?
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. HDMI. It transmits both digital video and audio at the same time. It was designed to be used by home theater equipment. Allow for several types of HDMI connectors. Best known, which is used on most computers and televisions, is the Type A 19-pin HDMI connector. Small mobile devices can use smaller Type C 19-pin HDMI mini connector. The maximum length of an HDMI cable depends on the quality of the cable.
Thank you. I'm sure you guys are familiar with HDMI. Most of us have it at home nowadays. And as it stated, it was mainly made for home theaters at first, but obviously computers got a hold of it real quick. Display port, very, very, very close looking to our HDMI port. Okay, says here, DeAndre, can you help us with this slide, please?
Sure. Display port. It was designed to replace DVI. It can transmit digital video and audio data. It uses data packets similar to those of Ethernet, USB, and PCI Express. Regular display port is used on video cards and desktop computers. The smaller mini display port is commonly used in laptops. Maximum length for display port cables is 15 meters.
Yes, thank you very much. So if we notice, DVI was replaced by this. It also encompassed audio, just like our friend in the HDMI. This one holds both video and audio. A lot of the laptops have this. A lot of the PCs have this port. Before we even found HDMI, these ports were available. Any questions or doubts on the DVI replacement, which is your display port? Our friend Thunderbolt. Christina.
Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt combines PCI Express and DisplayPort into one serial signal and additionally provides DC power, all in one cable. It can be used to transmit video and/or data. It has a maximum length of 3 meters using copper cable. Thunderbolt 1 and 2 can achieve up to 20 gigabytes and use the same connector as mini DisplayPort. Thunderbolt 3 uses Type C and can reach up to 40 gigabytes per second, in use by Mac Pro, MacBook Pro, and MacBook Air.
Any questions on Thunderbolt? Okay. We notice Thunderbolt 3
I have a question.
is Type C now. That's the new version. If we remember, Type C is the latest and greatest type of USB. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You had a question, Jordan?
I'll just say the Thunderbolt 3, since it uses USB Type C, that would mean it's not like not exclusive to Mac, right? Because I know Android devices use Type C, some cameras and whatnot.
The main ones in use with Thunderbolt right now are those. I believe there is other devices that use Thunderbolt. I can't quote exactly which ones and where, but these are the main ones that are utilizing it. That's all they're really saying here. Does anybody know who else uses Thunderbolt?
I think some Androids do.
You mean the C type or the actual Thunderbolt?
I was referring to the Type C.
Yeah, the C one.
Oh, I think a lot of people use a C type. It's becoming common, I think, with the new phones now.
Yeah, all the new phones. I could be wrong, but I think a lot of the new phones are starting to push towards that Thunderbolt, and the new, at least is it the iPads or is it the iPads? No, I'm not sure if the iPads have it yet, but I know a lot of them. I've seen Thunderbolt is grown in proper, obviously due to the speed. I just don't know exactly which ones currently are using it. Can't really quote. I believe even some PCs have it out there. I'm not sure if it was a Sony PC I saw once out there with it. There is some PCs that may have it instead of the DisplayPort.
I think laptops actually use it for power too, like some modern laptops.
That's true. Any other questions in reference to Thunderbolt? Composite video, also called RGB port. Composite video mixes the red, green, and blue together in a same signal. That's that little yellow guy there. You haven't seen those too much anymore, but that is the port itself. If we see next to it is our red and white. What is the red and white channels? There, that
right.
Left and right. Which one's right?
The right is the red.
All right. So remember that little riddle.
Throwback to PlayStation.
You still have it in your PlayStation? Ouch. That means
Not
you're
the PlayStation anymore. Sadly.
Oh, the old PlayStation. I think you're talking about the new PlayStation. Yeah. The component.
At Nintendo.
Yeah, I had it. That's true. It had the yellow with the red and the white. I don't know. Might need a converter nowadays. I don't think your TV has that. Component.
You're like a technician.
So here's your component video itself. Now, instead of just being one, it actually splits the red, green, and blue, and it puts the colors just to make it nice and cute. Some people, though, get confused because they're not paying attention, and they'll put the red where it's not supposed to go. You notice we still have the red and white for the actual audio. So purposely, this cable that has all 5 pair ups the white and the red together, where this cable, when you split it, so it has only those 2, and then the other 3 are together. So if you're not paying attention, you just have them all in the back, you may mix your red with your red of the right channel. Any
Is there a
questions?
reason they split it up, or?
Red, green, and blue. So now I have, instead of being only in one, I have the detail of each one. So the signal's coming separate.
So it's better quality, or?
Better signaling, yeah, than the one with the yellow. Component video that I'm aware of gives you better resolution too.
Okay.
This came out after the composite. So if you see, this one only is one only with red, green, blue all inside signaling, while this one, each one has its own little signaling. S video or super video port. It's 4-pin or 7-pin, depending on who created and what it's for. Fewer of the older video cameras obviously use that, which was a variation. It was like a 6-pin. So that one was called mini DIN 6 connector. They're all basically super video. And that's what the connector looks like. I'm pretty sure it looks almost like a PS2 kind of connector. Weird, but it's different. This one's completely circle. Doesn't have that little doohickey. Any questions? Your adapters and converters. These are the most common. Doesn't mean that they're the only ones. You have your DVI to HDMI, HDMI to VGA, as we alluded to earlier, Thunderbolt to HDMI, and DisplayPort to DVI, HDMI to DisplayPort. All these are available. This is just to name a few. Any questions? Anybody can recognize this guy right away? So he's a full grid with an H.
That looks
grid.
like a dual DVI. That's the I version.
Yeah, because he's got the H with the full grid. What's this guy here that I'm pointing to? Who's he?
The VGA.
Good.
Super VGA.
VGA port, super VGA. Yeah, they'll take VGA, so I'm not gonna be that picky.
I find it funny they put super instead of just calling it something different.
Yeah, you would think. I guess they weren't very clever back in the day. Here goes on next page 32 is a wonderful way of getting things done. So this guy obviously he had a, what is that? It looks like a display port, maybe getting into maybe HDMI, if I can read that correctly, going to DVI to VGA to get it done. Next question. Which one is which?
Thunderbolt number 1.
Number 1. These should be hopefully easy, guys. If we can recognize them and or the little icon that they're putting on these things, we should hopefully be able to decipher these.
2 is DVID, because it's the D because it has that little single line next to the pins.
Isn't it DisplayPort? Because it has like that little square or whatever.
Number 2?
No.
Oh,
no, we're talking about 2.
Not 3. Not 3. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right about the DisplayPort on 3. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, number 2 is what you said, my bad?
It's a DVID because it has that little single line.
Yeah.
On the left.
Yeah, I don't think I see I don't see extra.
I don't see the box on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I think he's saying DVID is not the integrated because it doesn't have the H over here. So it's a dual channel digital.
Okay.
Right? Do we all agree? We
Looks like
agree
it.
at least it's a DVI. We can't see all the teeth, but we agree it's dual channel at least, and it's a DVI.
It's still DVI. It's just there's a different yeah.
It's really hard to tell, though, to be honest.
As a DVI,
Yeah, it's hard. The
really,
pictures are kind of hard.
all we want to be able to recognize is it DVI. Yeah, and obviously, if we could see it better, then we could tell if it's better quality. We could tell if it was, between the DVI-I or the DVI-D. But we do agree it's dual channel from the looks of it, and it's either DVI-D or DVI-I dual channel. All right. Number 3.
VGA. I mean, sorry, DisplayPort.
Yeah, there we go. DisplayPort. Now, once again, these things have that little icons on the top that we can start recognizing them, hopefully, and that'll make it easier. What's number 4? I think everybody kept on saying it a little while ago. Getting excited with it. VGA, right? 5. Anybody remember this guy? 5.
BNC. Cortex. Cable.
BNC. Specifically, the connector is BNC.
BNC. What was that connector for again? The BNC.
Video, usually used for video. You could use it. You remember the component video that we saw earlier, for instance?
Yeah, I remember.
Well,
Yeah.
they'll replace the tips with these, so it locks on.
Yeah.
All right, number 6.
HDMI.
Is that a small HDMI? Yeah.
Yeah, it's an HDMI.
That one's really hard to see.
Okay, we're going to slide 34. And our next victim is Justin. Come on down. We lost Justin.
Alrighty. Video cards. Video cards are also called graphics card adapters or display cards. Most motherboards sold today have one or more video ports integrated into the motherboard. Video cards improve the video output when its video port is used rather than the port on the motherboard. Allows for use of more than one monitor at the same time. Video cards are connected onto AGP or PCI Express slots on the motherboard. Fastest slot to use is the PCIe by 16 slot. The manufacturers are NVIDIA and ATI Radeon.
Yes, thank you. Those are pretty much, I'm pretty sure you guys that love gaming notice who's NVIDIA or ATI. Those are the big ones that are out there that create those nice, beautiful, crisp colors. And obviously, they usually have their own processor and all that stuff. Those are the high-end ones that are pretty good. Any questions or doubts?
When he means by ATI, does it mean AMD? Because I know I think AMD took ATI.
ATI Radeon graphics, you're saying? I'm breaking up
right
on
now. Right now, I can only think of 2: NVIDIA and then AMD. Is ATI AMD, or they bought them over?
I haven't heard of I know AMD processors, fully aware of those. Maybe they did, maybe, or they are maybe with AMD. I can't tell you if that's, I don't know the details of ATI, if they united with them or what. I can't tell you, unfortunately. I've heard of Radeon and I've seen their beautiful processors out there, but I'm not aware if it was AMD that purchased it or if it's since they have chips, maybe you've seen the ones that are AMD graphic ATIs, and then there's an Intel ATI graphic cards. Maybe that's what's out there.
AMD acquired them in 2006, it says.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
For
okay, that makes sense.
$5.4 billion.
Oh.
That was cheap. And now we know, and knowing is half the battle. So apparently, yes. So they were bought out. AMD grabbed them, and they're obviously the ones. Thank you.
Oh, they got a sweet deal.
Yeah. That'll put them on the map. All right. Slide 35. Any other questions before we proceed on slide 34 to 35? I'm pretty sure they probably kept the ATI since that's the most recognized logo of video, even though they're AMD. Sometimes these people who buy out things, just like YouTube. Did YouTube change its name? You guys do realize YouTube, I don't think, came out with Google, if I remember correctly, my history.
Yeah, I remember when YouTube first came out. It looked so weird.
They didn't change their name though, right? They kept the name. So the same aspect. You wouldn't want to change something that's worked to a completely different name, and then how are your current people that are used to that name gonna be reflective? So that's most likely a marketing decision. Same thing with many other people who have eaten up other companies. Usually they keep the name out there. All right, here's a fancy graphics card here. We got the cooling fan with our stabilize. The stabilize over here. We got our PCIe Express card, so that goes right into the motherboard itself. This one has several ports. We have the DVI, the S-Video, and the VGA here, or SVGA, whichever you want to call it. Next slide on 36. Before we proceed to that, let's consider a scenario here before we continue. So let's say we had a client has a problem, right? Her external monitor, she comes to us and says, hey, look, I'm having problems with my external monitor. I have a laptop, obviously, but I'm having problems with this external monitor. It's flickering on me. It doesn't want to work real good. It seems to have a lot of problems. Can you fix it? And usually she's got an external monitor, right? And what should we do? Usually a lot of these technicians, unfortunately, will address this ticket within that 7-day window, since I have a week usually to take care of it. And then I have a circuit is down. This guy doesn't look like as important as that circuit that I'm dealing with. We need to be careful. Anybody know why? When I get tickets in, what's one reason I should be careful of always assuming, since they have a workaround, that this becomes a low priority?
Stack up.
Someone said
never.
Yeah, when like your time management be a problem if you just wait till last minute to do it, because you're not sure like exactly what the problem is and you're not sure how long it's gonna actually take.
Bing, bing, bing. There you go. I haven't really diagnosed. I've only really just listened to the person that came and they called. And one major thing about hardware is that now that I've waited until next week, so let's continue with this scenario. And I waited, and like DeAndre said, now I'm waiting for the last minute. Now I pick it up, like we just said, last minute. And when I notice, yeah, the actual monitor is going bad. It's got several dead pixels or bad pixels. Something's wrong with it. And when I go to submit my form, Lord and behold, it is 2 days after its warranty. It technically has now become expired, and I no longer can actually replace this without purchasing this. Now your supervisor is extremely frustrated with the unnecessary cost, because a week ago, had you just submitted a form, they would have sent us a brand new monitor. And today that you said you were going to work on it, you will be able to replace it. A lot of these things we need to first diagnose, especially warranty hardware stuff, as soon as possible. We know we're not going to be able to touch it right away, but at least fill out those forms, right? So what can I do? So now I fell into this predicament. Pablo, what can I do with my supervisor? How can I show that I'm taking personal responsibility for this mistake? What should I do? What should I say to my supervisor? Wait until the last minute.
You should definitely own up to it, apologize, and ask how you can make it better.
Okay, ask for his feedback in case if we haven't.
Or like how you can make it up to him, something like that.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, one way maybe we can make it up to them is maybe tell them that next time I'll make sure that I check all warranties on all hardware that's coming in, right? To make sure that although it's not a high priority because she has a laptop screen, not the monitor, that's she's got two screens. So I just double check and make sure before I put this a low priority, I'll make sure that all future hardware cases that I verify what's the current status of their warranty so that we don't fall into that kind of issue. Obviously, if they come to me and the warranty is over, the warranty is over. There's nothing I could do. I'm going to note it on the ticket and then try to help her accordingly, be that I get procurement involved or whatever it is afterwards. But we always want to check the warranty. And a lot of these big companies even have a center that you send it to, and they'll deal with it, and they'll send you a refurbished monitor while they it automatically goes to them to ship to the manufacturer. Or sometimes we even have the manufacturer in there, depending how big these companies are. Thank you for your feedback. So, alluding to slide 36, we have ghosting. I think some of us started mentioning some of these things a little while ago. Streaking. And no, it's not streaking like in that movie. Let's go streaking. No, that's a different thing. Fuzzy vertical lines. Monitor not showing any reds. That means only green and blue. You're going to have that weird. You're going to look like if, I forgot what color, myopia, I don't know. I'm not an eye doctor, but you're colorblind. Bad pixel. Pixel is stuck or on pure white or whatever color that it happens to be stuck on. Flickering image, dim image, and hissing noise. That one's scary. Sounds like if there's a snake inside your monitor, you can bet something's wrong, right? It starts hissing at you. Has anyone ever experienced any of these?
I have.
Yep. Pretty much the whole lot.
So we can understand, obviously, these are things that we understand. I'm not going to go up to a user and say, yeah, you know, you're ghosting and you're streaking. There's a problem with your monitor. We're going to try to fix the issue as soon as possible. If not, if necessary, we'll purchase a new one. I am not going to go into the details of what a dead pixel, a stuck pixel is, or what ghosting is streaking, right? This is for our benefit to understand what it is and where to go to try to fix the issue with videos. So we're going to start off for ghosting, streaking, and or fuzzy vertical edges. Check the cable connector and the cable itself. If not, check the video card. If one color is missing, check the cables for breaks and bent points. If not, monitor requires internal service. For bad pixels in the LCD monitors under warranty, change the monitor, obviously. Usually that means a pixel never lights up. It's a dead pixel. One that's stuck on a certain color, be pure white, green, whatever. That's a stuck pixel. But the one that's pure white only, that's just a lit pixel. Variance between a pure white stuck pixel and a certain color stuck pixel. Don't ask me why they want to go in. I guess somebody was bored and wanted to change between stuck and lit. So if you're pure white, it's just a lit pixel. It's completely black, doesn't want to turn on. That's a dead pixel. So you're going to see like a little square, black square on the screen. Any questions?
This is a really specific one, but I know cameras are pretty susceptible to dead pixels. In an instance like that, say for whatever reason you had to do some maintenance on camera, what, I don't know if you know, but how would you go about that to fix a dead pixel there? Or is that like a lens issue?
What did it say here? Look. In the sentence. I'm pointing towards the sentence. What does it say about it? Change the... Yeah. If the pixel is completely dead or stuck, the only ones that I used to see where there was maybe something where it was weird or something, the old ones, you can get a degausser, and some of the old tubes had their own degausser inside. And so you can go with the degausser was the unit that I told you that has a very strong magnet. You can use that to erase your hard drives or erase tapes, right? So you would actually push this degausser in front of the screen to basically massage, that worse of an explanation I can't give, is explain it that way, to massage the screen and the colors. It demagnetizes and magnetizes back, and somehow, miracle, it always worked, then you don't have that weird burnt image, or you don't have weird colors coming up. It kind of, the liquid mercury in there gets moved around, and I'm not sure how it does it, but it degausses the actual image and fixes the image for you. But as for a dead or a stuck pixel on these LCD monitors, usually there's nothing much you can do except for replace it, or just put up with the little black hole in your screen, or the white stuck or the green stuck little thing.
Yeah, no, I was just asking because sometimes it'll come out in the actual picture, and I haven't seen any type of I've looked, but I haven't really seen any fix for it.
On the picture itself, after it finishes taking it?
Mm-hmm.
Then
I think that has to.
That would be your lens. That would be your lens, though. That's not your. That wouldn't be your screen that's giving you the problem. That would be your lens. That's
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, it could have been that.
Is that
well, I don't have the issue, but I've seen it on multiple occasions, and I was thinking it could either be like the sensor in the camera or the actual lens. But since this came up, I was like, this might be it. Correct time to ask that question.
Cool. Any other questions before we proceed? Cool. Next is a flickering image. Carlos, can you help us out here? Flickering image.
A flickering image with an LSD usually points to either a very inexpensive panel with too much light bleed from the backlight or dying CCFL backlight. LEDs don't flicker, replace backlight if necessary. A dim image, especially on only the top or bottom half of the screen, points to a dead or dying backlight in a multi-backlight system. If LSD makes a distinct hissing noise, an inverter is about to fail. It can be changed if needed.
Yeah. The LCD one makes that little that's weird. Just step away. Turn it off. That's basically it. If we remember, the LCD has the inverter inside going AC, has the AC to DC back to AC. That's what it's doing there. And that can be replaced, but usually we're not doing that. That will be sent somewhere. That's depending on the company, obviously. Any questions or doubts on dim image, flickering image, or the hissing, the little snake? Okie dokie, here we are. Dr. Hadley. Let's start off with number one. Justin, you can help us out.
Of course. Number one, what do we call the time it takes for all the subpixels on a panel to go back from pure black to pure white and back again? That would be refresh rate.
Okay. Everyone agree? Refresh rate? I
I agree.
I see yeses and nos. You guys are gonna have to. I'm going like this now. I don't know.
C.
Yeah.
Response rate. So we got refresh rate, response rates. We got
Response.
Response.
I think it's just refresh.
Response.
Response rate is the one where they're looking at, and I know it's confusing. That's the one where it's checking how fast can it turn the light on. And that's why I wanted to make sure I said that kind of thing. So if I'm turning, you could think about it, turning my light on and turning it back off. That would be going from pure black to pure white to black again. That's how fast does it respond to do that. As for refresh rate, is how fast refresh picture on your screen. They're very, very similar, but different. The response rate is how fast can I turn it on and off again, the light, going from black to white back to black. They're very specific about that. As for the refresh rate is how fast can I refresh the picture on your screen. Has nothing to do with white, black, and white. Again, unless if your picture is only white and black, then but make sense? Cool. Okay. Next one. Jordan, what provides the illumination for LCD monitors?
Backlights.
Backlights. Everybody agree? Backlights?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3. Teresa.
Number 3, Dudley wants to connect his new MacBook to an LCD monitor that has a digital visual interface. What type of adapter should he use? Since he has a MacBook, usually with those, the Thunderbolt is the one that usually is compatible with those, so he should do Thunderbolt to DVI.
Okay. Everyone agree? Thunderbolt to DVI?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. That is correct. Thunderbolt, usually that's what the MacBook Pros, they told us, are using nowadays. Number 4. Daniel.
Yes.
Number 4.
Quattro. How do we measure brightness of a projector? Lumen.
Everyone agree? Lumens?
Yes.
Awesome. Number 5. And survey says, Alexa.
Which two technologies are used for backlights in LCD monitors? I think A.
Okay. Everyone agree? Is it A, CCFL, and LED?
I agree.
Okay. Yes? No? Maybe so. I got 1 yes. 2
Yes.
Yes.
3 yeses. That is correct. That's A, CCFL, and LEDs. Okay. Pretty much our session up to here. Any questions or doubts before I end the session for?
We're not doing number 6?
No?
Oh, sorry.
Number 6.
Number 6. I didn't notice it was a 6. Thank you.
Because I have questions about number 6.
I didn't notice it was 6. Usually it's 5. So, okay. Number 6, Lázaro. He's the one with questions. Go ahead and read it.
A client calls complaining that his new LCD monitor is flickering. What is the most likely problem?
Okay,
I
yeah.
put C.
We didn't talk about, but this is a very, very good one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I put C, but I know that's not the right answer.
Okay. So,
Well, I thought it was because it didn't say LED, so I thought maybe the inverter is going wrong, or maybe the actual CFL backlight is going bad, which will make it flicker. Even though it's new, maybe it had a defect.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you guys a clue. It's the one that I told you guys, if I have a camera and I put it in front of my screen, I will see the lines coming down. And you'll see it in the old televisions that if you didn't actually do this tuning of what this word is, I don't want to say the word, you would actually see the line coming down, straight down like that, like a bar coming down, like skipping down like that. It starts flickering. That's a key. So what would make my thing have that line going down to remember what's actually continuously coming onto my screen and giving the image again and again and again in hertz? I'll give you another clue. It does it in hertz.
The refresh rate is too low?
Yes. So if the refresh rate is too slow, you're gonna, you can actually now see it. Now you can see it. Because it's so slow, it's flickering. Instead of the line coming down where the camera's got to catch it, now you physically, your eye is seeing it because it's so low, the refresh rate, that you see the little flickering of the light. Any other questions or why this would create it or doubts?
Yeah, I do, because in the slide it says flickering image with an LCD usually points to either a very inexpensive panel with too much light bleed from the backlight or a dying CCFL backlight.
Flickering?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it said. That's why I thought it was the backlight was failing too.
Agreed. But if we look at that, would a brand new monitor do that? See, these things are there to trick you. And that's why I want to make sure we get these things. There's key words in here that they're putting on purpose so that, one, we either get confused, or two, are able to determine what could be the possibility. The first thing I can do, I haven't done, right, is the least intrusive thing would be what? Check the refresh rate, right? Now, if I get past the refresh rate and it wasn't brand new, then we can go and obviously progress from there. But the first thing I should check is the refresh rate. Is it too low that is causing this? Because it's a brand new LCD monitor. Maybe they even have the wrong drivers for this monitor and the settings is incorrect. So that was a little curveball they threw on us there. That makes sense now or no? It's a brand new monitor, right?
Yeah, but what if it's a cheap monitor?
Even if it's brand new, right? Would I go and replace the backlight of the CFFL first, or would I check the refresh rate?
Check the refresh rate.
The least intrusive, right? Mm-hmm. These are the things they're gonna give you 2 or 3 right answers, but there's no point there that they told me they already checked the refresh rate. Now, had I checked everything and I'm only left with those, then yes, most likely it might be that. These are trick questions, unfortunately, and this is an actual easy one compared to ones that they have on the test, I assure you. They'll throw you a paragraph in there to see if you figure out what they're talking about. Too much information that you don't even need.
So it's B?
B as in boy. If we're going by troubleshooting theory, we should be trying the least intrusive one first. And the first thing I have to check on a brand new LCD monitor would be see how the refresh rate is on it. That can cause the problem that they have there, because it's brand new.
Yeah, makes sense.
Even if it was used, do we all agree that would be my least intrusive thing that I can check?
Yeah.
Now the trick there is to say which one is it? Is it high or low? And logic would dictate. We kind of think about it real good. If we weren't 100% sure, it's got to be low, right? Because then the refresh rate, that little line that's coming down, is so low that it's technically flickering. That's happened many times with some of my users, so that one I'm fully aware of. I've seen that a lot. They don't know exactly what they're doing and they change the refresh rate, thinking that that's going to help them. Any other questions or doubts?
No.
Okay. We'll end this session here.